Langston Prep stood regal and untouchable, a fortress of polished stone and ivy-draped archways. But when Caleb Jennings stepped through its heavy wooden doors, the silence hit harder than any welcome. Not a single student looked him in the eye. He wasn't just the new kid, he was the outlier. The scholarship boy in worn-out shoes, crossing into a world never designed to include him. Behind glossy brochures preaching diversity and belonging, something colder and older pulsed quietly. Principal Danner had called it a gift to the school when he introduced Caleb during orientation. But Caleb felt the air around him pull tighter, not warmer. No one said a word, but everything spoke. He had learned to listen. The building reminded him of a courthouse, stark symmetry, tall ceilings, echoing footsteps. His canvas backpack sagged at the seams, rubbing against his coat as he walked beneath banners that celebrated decades of elite legacy. No one made eye contact. You'll step into places where silence weighs more than noise, his Aunt Lorraine had told him that morning, buttoning his collar with hands calloused from years scrubbing floors that didn't belong to her. Let their quiet speak. Yours will sing louder. He nodded, remembering the tremor in her voice, not from fear, but experience. Glass display cases reflected gold trophies and smiling portraits of students who didn't look like him. The hallway buzzed with announcements, footsteps, whispers that stilled when he passed. One girl cupped her hand and murmured, "That's the new scholarship kid," before giggling into her sleeve. At the front desk, the secretary never looked up. She just gestured vaguely. Second floor. Room 207. Mr. Keene's class. Then, after a pause, she added, "You're early." No smile. Caleb thanked her quietly and moved on. The stairs didn't creak from age, they simply noticed him. Upstairs, campaign posters lined the walls, perfect smiles, slogans about excellence and leadership. He didn't recognize a single name. Room 207 was open an inch. He took a breath. Inside, the lights hummed. Students lounged with ease, half-zipped coats and casual chatter. The second Caleb entered, the volume dipped. It wasn't hostility. It was calculation. A collective measurement of his worth. "Seats open in the back," said a tall man in a blazer, barely glancing up from a stack of papers. "I'm Mr. Keene. We value diversity here. I'm sure you'll find your rhythm." Caleb nodded and navigated to the last row, careful not to graze anyone's chair. A few chuckles escaped behind notebooks. Someone smirked. His desk faced the window, where winter wind shook the bare trees. He stared through the glass, anchoring himself. Books opened. Roll call began. He listened, took notes, said nothing. I started toward him like shadows. At lunch, he skipped the dining hall and found a corner in the small courtyard. The flower beds were frozen, and the stone bench bit into his thighs. He pulled out the egg salad sandwich Lorraine had made, still wrapped in tinfoil, and a dented thermos of lukewarm tea. The wind pinched his cheeks. He tapped the metal cap in a slow rhythm, steadying his heartbeat. Then, a shadow. "You play?" a voice asked. Caleb looked up. A woman stood nearby, arms full of folders. She wasn't smiling, not really, but she didn't look through him either. "A little," he said. "Piano. Miss Van Etten, music teacher." She nodded slowly. "That's something." Unseen behind her, Principal Danner paused just long enough to hear. His smile reappeared a few days later, sugary and dense. In the staff lounge, he floated his newest idea between sips of coffee and nods toward the microwave clock. "We're keeping it traditional for Friday's family night," he said. "Short speeches, a few student spotlights. But I thought we'd begin with a surprise. A beat. Caleb Jennings. He plays piano." Heads tilted. A few chuckled. Ms. Van Etten didn't. "He's brand new," she said evenly. "Hasn't even set foot in the practice room." Danner's grin widened. "Exactly. A debut. Everyone loves a good underdog." That afternoon, in literature, Mr. Danner entered without knocking. "Big news," he boomed. "This Friday, our own Mr. Jennings will be opening the program. A special musical performance to showcase our inclusive spirit." Whispers flicked like sparks. "You've got flair," Danner added, more to the room than to Caleb. Then he vanished, door swinging behind him. A kid near the front mock played air piano, humming badly. "Beethoven's backup dancer," someone joked. Caleb clenched his fists beneath the desk. The wood grain blurred. Miss Van Etten crossed the room later, during the lull between subjects. She leaned in close. "Play only if it's yours to play," she whispered. Then she left him with the weight of her words. That night, rain traced the windows of their basement apartment. The piano sat beneath a yellowed bulb, its edges chipped. Caleb didn't even remove his jacket. He stood over the keys, fingers hovering. They felt foreign. But he played anyway, halting, uncertain. The notes came low and simple. A hymn his grandmother used to hum while folding sheets. The melody didn't belong to Langston. It belonged to Lorraine, to kitchens filled with steam and patience. "I'll play," Caleb said softly, but not for them. On Friday, the Langston auditorium smelled like sugar and polish. Donuts steamed on folding tables. Parents arrived in wool coats and silk scarves, voices low and performative. Caleb waited backstage. Shirt pressed, too long in the sleeves. Shoes too big. His hands trembled inside his pockets. "You don't owe them your smile," Lorraine had said, brushing lint from his collar. "You owe them nothing. Play for you." He didn't see her in the crowd, but he knew she'd come. On stage, Principal Danner smiled into the microphone. "Welcome, everyone, to a night of pride and promise," he said. "To begin, a performance from one of our exceptional new students." Caleb stepped into the light. No eye contact, just the keys. He sat, adjusted the bench, and placed his hands gently. A pause. Then he played. It started with the hymn somber, winding, notes that ached with memory. Then the piece shifted into something unrecognizable, something only Caleb could summon. Gospel tangled with classical runs. A lament turned into insistence. A storm under restraint. The audience stilled. A woman in the front row leaned forward. Miss Van Etten didn't move, but her eyes glistened. Principal Danner folded his arms. By the final chord, stretched, tremulous, aching, the silence was total. Then applause rose. First tentative, then engulfing. Caleb didn't bow. He sat, fingers resting on the quiet keys. The next week, things changed. Not in banners or speeches, but in glances. Nods in the hallway. Eye contact. A few mumbled greetings. Someone left a folded note in his tray at lunch. That took guts. No name. But the shift wasn't only upward. A shoulder that didn't move out of his way. A laugh that stung. A locker slam too close. Lorraine had warned him. "You're not invisible because they don't see you. They just don't know how." In the music room, Ms. Van Etten thumbed through old files. 2016. A talented student named Luis barred from a competition. No explanation. Just eligibility concern. "Is that why you stayed here?" Caleb asked. She looked up slowly. "It used to be about music," she said. "Now it's about silence. Someone's got to listen to it." By then, Emily Wong had already uploaded the video. It spread through student phones like fire. She designed flyers with a QR code. The Echo Room. Stories from students who had been muted for too long. Caleb's face was never named, but the notes told the whole story. Ms. Van Etten raised the idea of equity in the staff meeting. "We should re-examine how performance opportunities are distributed." Danner's smile stayed polished. "Let's not overcorrect from one performance," he said. Lorraine answered the phone mid-laundry. "I saw your boy on the internet," the caller said, gentle. "He played like the room belonged to him." Lorraine didn't speak right away. Then, it did. Just that once. By Friday, Langston announced that the winter showcase was postponed. No reason. Just scheduling conflicts. But the students didn't care. They planned their own. By twilight, the lawn outside the school was strung with lights, buzzing on battery packs. Folding chairs lined the grass. Emily passed out programs. Mr. Keene helped rig the mic. Ms. Van Etten stood quiet, watchful. Lorraine arrived early and took the same seat as before. Back row. First to clap. Caleb wore the same shirt, sleeves rolled. His shoes, now polished, clicked as he crossed the lawn. He sat at the center. No stage. No spotlight. Just frost and resolve. "You don't need their permission," Lorraine had said that morning. "You need your voice." He didn't look up at the school windows. But if he had, he'd have seen Principal Danner watching alone from above. Caleb exhaled. Then played. Again the hymn. Familiar. Then the shift, a kaleidoscope of discipline and soul. Chords that refused to bow. A narrative in music. The cold disappeared. Students held their phones but didn't film. They just listened. When the final note came, no one clapped. Not at first. It was reverent. Sacred. Then applause rose like a storm. Ms. Van Etten handed a thick envelope to the county representative who had quietly arrived during the performance. No announcement. Just action. That night, in their dim kitchen, Caleb opened the email. Full scholarship. Regional Conservatory. Lorraine didn't ask. She just took his hand. Steady. Upstairs, in his office, Danner read the same email. Below it, another. Subject. Formal audit. Immediate action required. By Monday, a new flyer appeared on the music room door. Coming soon, the Jennings Music Lab. And in the silence that followed, Langston was never the same. Caleb had done what no one expected. He played anyway, without permission, without apology. And in doing so, he rewrote the silence.